G'day folks, welcome to another episode of my 4x4. Today standing in front of a Volkswagen Amarok, and some of you that have watched a few episodes on our channel before will have noticed it. It's one of our subscribers that joins us from time to time. Thought we'd have an opportunity to show you around his rig. I'll call him in now. Anthony.
Hey guys.
G'day mate, we'll observe the little bit of social distancing. We won't shake hands, but welcome. Thank you very much for bringing your rig along this morning to show us and the viewers. Alrighty, what is it?
Alright, it's a 2017 Amarok V6 Highline. I've had it since new.
Okay, and just with that, with the Amarok, just for the viewers up the front, is this the auto that doesn't have low range or the manual that does?
No, it's the V6 and it's the auto with without low range.
So. Okay, so it's the 8-speed auto. Sweet. Yeah. No problems, mate. Okay, well, really nice rig. Very new.
Thank you.
So let's start at the front and have a discussion about what sort of mods you've done on it. And I see you've done bits and pieces here. Can we start with your bar? Because A, I haven't seen one of these before, and B, I actually really like the looks of it.
Alrighty, this is an aluminium DriveTech rival bar. You're pretty limited with choices on an Amarok. I did want to go a hooped bar. But with availability and time pressures for a trip coming up, I just decided to go with this one, and I like the way it looks. So the only downside is no upper animal protection.
Yeah, no hoops up around here. Yeah, but well, I guess the proof's going to be in the pudding if you ever, and God willing, you don't happen. But if you ever do hit an animal, this is fairly robust up the front. So I think it's one of those things where without the hoops, you may sustain some damage up here. But
yeah, there's a steel frame underneath and an alley bar over the top, so the winch cradle and everything's steel, and these are part of the steel frame coming through as well. And then, did you want to talk about the bash plate as well?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, if it's all incorporated while we're here.
So it's also the rival bash plate. They normally come in two pieces, so you get the front one for the engine and sump, and then there's a middle piece as well for the transfer case.
Yep.
But it was a little bit not worth the money for me to get the second bash plate, so I just went with the front.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. Very good. Yeah, like I say, I really do like the looks of it. Whilst we're still on the bar, these lights, were they standard with the bar or are they an aftermarket?
No, they're factory. With the bar.
With the bar?
Yeah, they do come with those. This doesn't come with the bar, the light bar, and this is probably the least researched thing I bought for the vehicle. And it was just a spur of the moment decision when the bar was getting put on. I decided to do the light bar as well, and it seems to do the job.
That's cool. What sort of light bar is it? DriveTech. Yeah, DriveTech light bar.
So you got the flip-up number plate standard.
Oh, okay.
The new model DriveTechs, they've actually moved the number plate down to cover the fairly.
Yeah.
And I think that's because it runs a little bit warmer. And if you open this hole up completely, you just get a little bit more airflow from the radiator.
Okie dokie. Well, let's move on down to the winch while we're talking about the bar, which like I say, I do like. Okay, talk us through what sort of winch you've got, and your hitches there aren't your standard.
So that's a Run Bar 11XP. Used it a couple of times and seems to do the job.
Yep.
And really, that's just straight out of the box.
Okay, is that a factor 55 hitch on, or is that?
No, that's the thimble that comes with the run bars, so they do that instead of a hook.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's the factor 55s, which are very similar to those, they're a good bit of kit, not super cheap either. So if that comes with your bar, that's awesome. Okie dokie. So that's probably, whilst we're here, have a look. Safari snorkel.
Yep, that's the latest edition. That's the standard V Max or V Spec or whatever they call it, rather than the R Max, the big one. And I was saying before, I reckon, even though all the tuners and the best advice is that there's no power difference between the big one and the small one, I feel like since that's gone on, it's dropped a little bit of power.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's we were having a bit of a discussion before. It's probably something for you to keep an eye on and have a look and take it to the tuners and have the chat.
Yep.
Okay, mate. Well, that's probably the in a nutshell, the front taken care of, but you've got some other bits and pieces happening here. So what we might do now is, through the magic of editing, end up at the side of your vehicle and start talking about some add-ons there. Okie dokie, that magic of editing, here we are at the side of your vehicle. Alrighty, now that we're here, what we'll do is we'll start up the top, your roof rack and your bits and pieces. What are they?
So I decided to just go with the Rhino bars rather than the platform.
Yeah.
On Amaroks and maybe all vehicles, I don't know, but the platforms are real noisy.
Yeah.
I've driven a couple of platforms and just don't really need a platform for what I was doing, so ended up with the bars. The box that I've mounted up there, I shamelessly stole that idea from another bloke with an Amarok in WA. He's done the same thing.
Yeah, hey mate, that's not everyone can think of everything straight off the bat, so that's fine. What do we keep in the box?
Oh, fire extinguisher, recovery gear, axe.
Yeah,
And,
okay, so yeah.
Just gets it all out of the back. So now the way the vehicle's set up, I don't have any gear bags rolling around in the back because everything's stowed. You know?
Yeah. And it's not too inaccessible. Normally, if you're stuck, you're kind of stuck in a bog hole, so that brings that down, and people that are outside your vehicle can access it as well. A lot of people fall into that trap. They have all of their recovery gear in the back of their car or inside their vehicle. They get stuck and no one can actually get to it sometimes. So yeah, no, that's good. And I see the almost full-length shovel.
Yep.
On your
yeah, that's
aftermarkets.
Pretty straightforward addition, that one. And I don't use it very often, but you know, I keep it up there all the time just in case the mood strikes. I want to head out in the track somewhere. I've got my shovel with me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a full-length shovel is one of those things that you really need to carry, particularly when you're going anywhere near sand. Anywhere near sand. Alrighty, so moving a little bit further back, we'll have a look here.
Alright, so the MaxTrax mount. These are standard tread mounts, these plastic pieces that actually have the bolts and covers on them, and that's just mounted to a piece of stainless uni strut.
Yep.
And then a couple of spotlight clamps onto the sports bars.
Yep.
Got the end caps. Really happy with how it finished off. I mean, it moves around a little bit, but it's been up there for a few years now, and the only thing I would do different if I was doing it again would be get MaxTrax mounts that don't have plastic caps, that have metal retainers, you know.
Yep, yep, fair enough. And you mentioned before about the platform, which are inherently noisy in most vehicles. Do we get any whistling noise out of those?
So, no. The loudest thing, I thought the box on the roof was going to be loud. I thought the MaxTrax were going to be loud. The loudest thing, believe it or not, is the snorkel. The wind noise, the buffeting off the snorkel, is a little bit of a letdown actually, because I thought I'd gotten out of that unscathed, and but at 110 you can just hear and I know that because of the order I put the things on, you know.
Yeah, okay, well just a tip to get rid of that: sell the Amarok, buy a Jeep. You won't hear any external noise over all the noise that's going on inside the car. No, okay, no, fair enough. No, look, I think that's really a really good mod. It's quite solid, and obviously wouldn't have cost you a great deal. But yeah, they're an important piece of kit. Okay, while we were here, let's have a quick chat. Wheels and tyres and suspension.
Okay, so they're 275 70-17s, which is about 32.5, I think.
Yeah.
It's a bit of an oddball size. It's the biggest, I believe, you can go on a Amarok without getting any scrub on the front. The only downside to it, it's a bit of an oddball, you know, so you're limited to about 3 tyres in that size. The wheels are 17-inch fuel vectors, and the suspension, it's Bilstein shocks all round, and they're a modified Bilstein.
Yeah.
So you've got adjustable seat height on the front and a 13mm shaft instead of a 12mm shaft.
Oh, okay, so yeah, marginally bigger shaft, bigger reservoir that goes with it.
I think the reservoir is the same, it's just the bigger shaft, and there's a guy, Net 4x4 in Melbourne, who's designed those and pumps them out for Amarok.
Yeah, no problem. So lift in it's round about 2-inch.
Yeah,
give or take.
20mm blocks in the back, and we ended up with around 40mm, 45mm lift in the front, and that's running H&R springs.
Yep. Okay, cool. Quick question for you, without notice, and I know we'll catch up on a lot of other things. Leaf springs in the back, right? Good, bad, how do you find them?
So unloaded, it's a little bit rough. What what I found is I run the tyre pressures much lower than I have in any other four-wheel drive that I've owned.
Yeah.
This is the first dual cab. And it seems to alleviate most of the issues, right? So I'm running the rears around town, sort of around the 30, 32 mark.
Yep.
And the fronts are up around 36.
Yeah.
Loaded though, it's pretty good. I mean, it drives like a car most of the time. It's just short, sharp bumps.
Yeah. And that, I mean, the reason that I asked you that was driving my young bloke's Colorado. It's the same sort of deal. Unloaded, it was like driving a tractor. Put a ton of gear in the back, and it was beautiful. But that was just about the actual spring rate. So, okie doke. So we've come down the side here. I'm not going to speak to you right yet about anything that you've got going on there, because we're going to capture all of that in just a second when we duck around the back.
Yep.
One thing that I do notice that you haven't got, that I will ask a quick question there. We have no protection down the side, no rock sliders, no side steps, not a thing. Is that by choice, or is that something that you look at down the track?
Yeah, it took the side steps off because they hang down too low.
Yep.
And were really not for four-wheel driving.
Yeah, I thought that might have been the case, which is part of the leading question.
Yep. And rock sliders definitely on the list. Probably the next thing.
Yeah, no problems. No, I just thought I'd ask the question because it was a noticeable observation that they weren't there.
Yeah.
But having said that, I know you come out with us quite a bit, and you're not scared to put it through its paces, and there's no damage to it. So far, so good.
Yeah. No,
Okie dokie. So we'll use this editing marvellous magic again, and we'll see you at the back. Okie dokie. Here we are at the back. So we'll start from the bottom and work our way up. Hitch.
Yep, that's the factory tow hitch, and then just hitch recovery point. The only trap with these is the Volkswagen being Volkswagen, the pin is quite far back, so not all the recovery hitches will fit in there and pin up.
Yeah. So again, you're a little bit limited to what you can put in, but that's obviously rated. It does all of your bits and pieces.
Yep.
So,
and I have run a spare wheel carrier here, a hitch mount spare wheel carrier that I brought across from previous vehicles. It's got a couple of jerry cans on it. But the whole assembly, 50 kilos of spare wheel, 50 kilos of carrier, 40 kilos of juice. It's just a little bit too much weight hanging out over the rear axle. I haven't said goodbye to it completely yet, but don't run it all the time.
Yeah, no, and that's fair enough too. We were having the discussion before. You put 150 kilos this far back of your axle, and it's probably not the most desirable, particularly for handling, but more so for your subframe and chassis longevity.
The upshot of it is I get an extra 10 mil lift in the front when I put it on.
Yeah, okay, you're a drinker. Okay, no problem. So, moving up a little bit here while we're at the back. Okay, just talk us through from the top down.
All right, there's nothing really going on with the sports bars. They're pretty standard, except there's a sand flag mount there. And then the sand flag I just keep in the awning cover.
Yep.
These racks are Rhino again, and I just drilled them through the roll and lock cover. They're the quick release, so you push the key, pull in the two levers, and they'll all come off in one piece in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, cool.
And I wanted it that way because I still use it like a ute, and I still load up the back. Same thing with the rack. This comes on and off. If I'm carrying kids' kayaks and stuff like that, it's off. I put it on with a Rhino gear bag when I need to carry a bit more stuff to go away, and it just lets me load up with a bit more gear,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I guess the good part, if you don't want to put, even if it's things like swags and bits and pieces like that, you put them up on the roof and you're starting to punch through wind and it affects your fuel economy.
Yep.
You throw them on down here, no impact at all, obviously, because it's blocking the wind from the front.
Yep.
Okie dokie. Let's open her up.
So the roll and lock. So that's the roll and lock.
Yep. That's
been pretty reliable. And I decided to go with this setup rather than a canopy because I still want the functionality of a ute.
Yep.
It's nearly the same cost, to be honest, to get the roll and lock on there.
Okay, just 1 second, just watch it.
Yep, no worries.
Open that up so the viewers can have a little bit. Okay.
Yep. This is the speed liner through here. which has got a bit of abuse and is chipping off in a few spots. These swing cases are a bit of hit and miss. It's good because this one's full of tools, that one's got the air compressor and a few other bits and pieces on that side, and there's an Anderson plug there, so I can just I can use the compressor without taking it out, but it does get a little bit warm in there in summer. The only downside to them is that to access them fully, you've pretty much got to have an empty tray. You know, so once there's any gear in there, eskies or whatever, they won't swing out anymore. You know, so but they just swing out, swing away, and you know, tools.
Yeah, well, okay, that's a downside to it, but on the plus side, if you use those for storage for things that you're not accessing all the time,
yeah,
it's probably not quite so bad.
Yeah, and being able to use the compressor in there without dragging it out's handy. You know, I just pull the hose out and switch it on, and we're away. So
let's face it, most trips too, if you've got bits and pieces in the back, it usually means that you're going away for a weekend or a trip. When you hit the tracks, you're really only using your compressor to air up maybe once or twice.
Yep.
So it's not the end of the world with that.
I've got my party lights in there too. I don't know if you'll see them in this light, but on that side, it's just a light strip, and it just helps, you know, night time to see what's going on.
Yeah, not sure if the viewers can pick that up, but we've got the LED light strip that runs down the side there, just on a switch. Any bit of light's a good bit of light. Yeah, and you wouldn't even notice that was a light switch there. To be honest, I have no idea. One thing that I did notice, and we were discussing this a couple of minutes ago, when he rolled that cover back, I was wondering how the hell you get to that, but then there's this wonderful little strap, and it's happy days are here again. Oh, and it's obviously got multiple lock points to open it up. So that's how we open it and close it, folks. So if you're an imbecile like me and had no idea, that's how it works. Very, very simple. It's only a little bit of strap, but very, very simple and obviously quite effective. Okie dokie. So, watch your fingers.
Yeah.
I think what we'll do at this point in time is we'll take a little bit of a walk around. We'll jump inside. I want to check out the comfort for a big size guy, because there's a lot of cars there that are horribly uncomfortable. So anyway, look, we'll jump inside. We'll have a look at any mods that you've made to the inside of your vehicle, but I'd be interested just to have a look, even if it's only standard inside, and I'm sure too with the viewers.
Yep, no worries.
Okay, just really briefly, when we were on the other side talking down the side of your vehicle, we couldn't see the awning. So the awning, what is it?
Yeah, it's just a 2.5 by 2.5. I think a BCF or one of those other generic ones.
Okay,
you know?
so it's sort of a generic budget type option. Yep. It does the job for you.
Yeah, and somewhere to keep the sand flag.
Yeah, well, there's that in it too. Yeah, sand flag, fishing rods, other bits and pieces. No problems at all. Okie doke. So no, it's good to see that you've actually still got an awning on. Yeah, a lot of people have started to move away from awnings because they're all going into this whole fancy canopy bits and pieces. Anyway, we will jump inside your vehicle and we'll have a chat.
Cool.
Alrighty. Well, here we are inside. My first impression is it's quite comfortable. Quite a bit of headroom, and yeah, because a lot of four-wheel drives, big guy gets in it. They're not built for big people, but this one's not too bad. Okay, so what sort of mods are we happening here?
Alrighty, so I've got a ultra gauge plugged into the ODB port, and that's a Bluetooth, and it connects back to my phone, and then from my phone in sort of when I'm doing any hard work or when the engine's labouring, I'm looking at the boost and the intake air pressures and the coolant temperature, exhaust gas temp, that sort of thing. And I don't have a radio mounted. I use a handheld, and that's because for the frequency that or for the amount that I use it, I'm still okay with handhelds at this point. I just carry a couple of handhelds and a bunch of batteries, and that's done me fine. Normally when I'm navigating, I've got HEMA up on the phone, and I get Google Maps on the center console screen, and that's just through the Apple CarPlay setup as well. Other than that, I've got the throttle controller, the iDrive throttle controller, and I have retrofitted another little switch down there as well, which basically wires into the fuse panel and is a complete shutdown of the traction control. So I don't normally need to use it, but in a situation where I was being, if I were to be held up by the traction control, I can turn the engine off, flick the switch, and essentially it's like pulling the fuse. Turn it back on again, and I'm without traction control until such time as I kick it back in.
Yeah, okay. Well, that can be ideal in certain circumstances, and obviously we don't really want traction control happening when you're in the sand. And if you do have one of those dodgy buttons after this car starts getting a few miles on it, you can actually shut it right down. So I think that's a really good, cheap, simple mod. So other than that, I'm assuming everything here is pretty standard.
Rest of it's pretty stock.
No, really, it's a nicely appointed vehicle, and like I say, it's quite comfortable and plenty of headroom. It's clean. I've got to say, it's really clean.
Yeah, well,
okay, so
it has just been cleaned. Sorry, that's just the winch controller. So
okay,
just keep that in there. And there's a cable one in the glove box.
I was actually just about to ask you that, because I've had a few wireless winch controllers fail on me. So you do carry the cable one.
Yeah, got the cable one there just in case. So far so good though.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's that time you got the remote and it stops on you, and you where's my cable one? That'll be in the garage at home. But yeah, no. Anyway, look, back on point. This is an exceptionally clean car. That's a credit to you. You've obviously given it a little bit of a clean because you knew we were coming out today to film.
That's right.
But mate, I tell you what, my vehicle hasn't been this clean since it came up the showroom. So yeah, look, okay. That's probably about it as far as the walk around and showing people what the Amarok's all about. I really like it. I like the look of it and the comfort. So we'll sit down and we'll have a little bit of a chat just in general, and we'll take it from there.
No worries.
Okie dokie. Look at this social distancing at its best. Okay, we've had a good look around it. Like I said, personally, I'm quite impressed with it.
Thank you.
So just a couple of questions. Any modifications under the engine bay that we didn't quite catch up with?
There's a catch can, a few circuit breakers for the Andersons and the winch, a set of diff breathers.
Yeah, okay. So just
about it.
Essentially, you've kept the engine pretty stock, which is a good thing in my opinion. And we just put a couple of the safety guards on it.
Yep.
No problems. Okie dokie. Biggest trip you've ever done in it?
Oh, in this one, that'd be Exmouth. So, not camping, but up there for a week with the family. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, this is something that'll probably won't surprise me, but I'll ask the question. You've done that run up to Exmouth in it. Obviously, did the trip really easy. What sort of fuel economy were you returning?
It reads about 11.5 litres per 100 kilometres.
Yep.
80 litre tank. I usually on the open road can get 600 out of it, but that's pushing pretty hard with a lot of gear up on the roof, If you were to drive it conservatively, it's not. It wouldn't be hard to get 800 out of it, 850, but that's not.
Okay. But in real terms, you're looking at around about 11.5 litres per 100, which is pretty good. Like any of these four-wheel drivers that go, I get 8 litres per 100 kilometres. I go, no, they don't. But that's just my opinion for what it's worth. Okie dokie. Future mods, we'd already had a little bit of a quick discussion. We were talking about rock sliders for the side. But other than that, is there anything else that you're looking at doing to this piece, or are you just looking at leaving it sit for a little while and getting use out of it?
Yeah, well, I'm getting close to that point now. The rock sliders will go on. If I'm going to hold on to the vehicle and keep going, then there's a few other bits and pieces. It needs a fuel tank protector.
Yeah.
A plastic fuel tank, and it's one of the lowest hanging things underneath. And with the long wheelbase, it's not uncommon for it to get scratched up under there. The sliders will help with that, but still, you just for this peace of mind and a bit more safety.
Yep. Okay. Carry around with you in a kit the tank repair bits and pieces. I think Not exactly sure of the name of it, but it's only relatively cheap and it does work quite well.
Yeah, right.
I carry the metal putty in mine, even though it's well protected. The last thing you want to do is when you're out travelling, particularly if you're remote anywhere, is punch a hole in your fuel tank if you've only got the one, because that then becomes a showstopper.
Yeah.
But yeah, so but you did say there, sorry, I picked up, if you choose to keep it. So you're in that process now of going, look, I really like the vehicle, but it might be time to look at something different.
Yeah, look, I love the Amarok. It's super capable. There's a couple of limitations. So one is the amount of rear seat space, and with a growing family, it's putting a little bit of pressure on, for room when we go away on long trips. And the other limitation really, people talk about high range and low range being an issue, but I don't have any issues without low range. The only thing that's going to stop this thing is the fact that is wheel size and some big ruts or some big rocks or something like that. 32.5 is pretty much the biggest you can go without some serious compromise. So doing some cutting and learning to live with some rub, a diff drop and a few other bits and pieces. Guys are going up to 33 and then beyond. But it's too much compromise for a car that you want to do big kilometres in.
It's I think again that comes down to horses for courses. What you want to do, what you want to use it for. If you are all of a sudden hitting a lot of tracks that have got the great big ruts now, everyone with their 35s and big lifts and cutting holes all over the place, does make us smaller guys struggle a little bit more. But again, I still believe that 90% of the time, you pick the right line, you pick the right areas to go, and you don't have a problem. And let's face it, you can have 37s and a 6-inch lift on some monster truck, and you'll still find ruts that are going to stop you.
Yeah.
So it's just we tend to find more with the smaller tyres and they're not quite so big lift. So
you're exactly right. This thing's built for touring and beach work and dunes, and it's good at that.
Yeah.
It's real unstoppable on the beach, unstoppable on the dunes, and that's what I was sort of going for.
I'll show you a beach, or I'll stop you. No, but yeah, no, look, I get your point, and I'll be honest. The first time you came out with us was on the sand at Lancelot. I thought it went really, really well there. Since then, you've been out with us once or twice, doing other work that wasn't on sand, and it kind of impressed me, even to a point where I said to Paul, like, that thing's got some poke. It really did perform quite well, and it amazed me. And I'm not a Volkswagen fan. I like the looks of them. I like the comfort of them. Personally, I wouldn't buy one, but it was really surprising that you go like, wow, here's something without low range that's doing low range work, no problem, and it just went everywhere we did. So,
thanks.
No, it's an eye opener for something that I never would have looked at. After meeting you, after seeing this vehicle, it's something that if I was looking at buying a dual cab, may consider. The rear space that you talk about is a limitation, isn't a limitation for me. My family are, God, I'm an old bugger, all my family's all grown and gone, so people sitting in the back just doesn't happen. And if it is someone else sitting in the back, it's only that I'm giving someone a lift somewhere, and hey, who cares if they're comfortable? But yeah, no, look, really good vehicle. We could sit and chat until the cows come home, but I don't think we're too far away from getting a little bit of rain here, so we might wind it up at that. Thank you very much for bringing your vehicle out and showing us around. I hope the folks out there that are watching this have enjoyed the walk around and seeing the Amarok. And for those of you that didn't know much about it or had some doubts, I can attest, not that I've driven it, but I've driven behind him when he's in it. This thing is very, very capable, very underrated, I believe. So nice vehicle. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again on another trip.
Thanks for having me, guys. Look
No
forward
worries.
to it.
Thanks very much, guys. See you next time.